It has been a while. In fact, Jeremy, I don't even know what we should talk about because we haven't seen each other. You've been crisscrossing, don't say middle coast or central coast, because there is no central coast. There's left coast and there's west coast, east coast, but there's no central coast.
There's central something, because I'm not sure what I've been doing. I asked myself today if it was Tuesday, and I realized it was Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Back on a plane Sunday. Obviously sitting back in Houston, Texas at the moment. Not in 35, 40 minutes. I won't be anymore. So it's been crazy. It's been different. You've been on vacation, so it's kind of been. I've had to hit the gas pedal. You had a chance to take a break.
I've been hitting the brake pedal on my bike. Well, actually, the handlebar brakes. But so for everybody who's not aware, you've had the New Balance Future Stars Series high school. What was the name of it again? Please let me know.
Well, there's several events in the series. This is the New Balance. This is a NAT team championship. So we had the class of 22s, which are the rising seniors, and the class of 23s, are the rising juniors. And this right now, as we're speaking, the class of 24 is the rising sophomores are playing. And the next week, the class of 25s come in, which is a rising freshman, and our national combine, which, we started using the name combine in baseball. Nobody was using it. They were all showcases. And now all of a sudden we got combines, and we've got pre-draft combines, and we've got development pipelines. We got all kinds of things seem to pop up since right around 2016. So, it's one of those things that it's our stuff is our stuff, and it's going to be it's a packed summer. It is a packed summer. We've had almost natural disasters to deal with this time. Man, I had to go on Twitter and do a video about hey, we're gonna do this for player safety and health. It's been just to get people to relax. We had that many people that were on site. It was an absolute a whirlwind of a week, and we're in week 2, and week 2 is already over, and I feel like I've been there 6 months.
So for people who aren't aware, when you're doing the tournaments,
correct,
you've got how many games going on at one time, and how many teams are filling each of the events?
Well, for total teams this summer, we had 124 or 125 register. We don't want to do, for example, there's an event in Atlanta run by somebody else that has 400 teams at one time. I personally, as a scout, never saw the point of going, because how do you scout that? I never saw that. I never understood it. But so I always wanted to do smaller events, 30 teams, 40 teams, 50 teams, something like that could be scouted. But based on the COVID, we'll call it the COVID recovery calendar for amateur baseball, the first week we had 67 teams on site in 7 fields. So that was kind of it was a lot. It was a lot. And it was really a lot when the skies opened up. And look, it rains in our part of the world right now somewhere every day. It'll rain in Houston every day at some point. You don't know where. It'll rain in Southwest Louisiana at some point. I can't remember being there where it was like 70% chance of rain every single day. And it feels like as good as last summer was, which was basically clear. It was basically clear last summer. This summer is the opposite. So put all that stuff together, you got an interesting mix of circumstances to get through. But the kids did a good job. The ones that stayed, the coaches did a good job. The staff did a good job. Our staff did a good job. And we try to do the best we could for players. And I will also say this: the talent on site, the talent was some of the best I've seen at a rising senior event for a team perspective. There's some famous teams out there, that we've had at our events that didn't have this type of talent, and that's just is what it is. And it was pretty good to see.
How many first round picks next year do you think you had
at the team event?
Yeah,
4.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, at the team event, I think we had 4. That's the most we've ever had. The comparable event from a team standpoint would have been 2019, and we had Zach Veen at that one. We had Romo. It was a second rounder, right, at that one, or a comp round pick, one of the two. We had Dylan Cruz took himself out of the draft. All those guys are on one team, by the way. We had Nolan McLean, who ended up at Oklahoma State. I believe he was drafted. We had Mick Abel didn't come to that, but he's been at our stuff. So, I mean, you've had, from a team perspective, this was by far the most diverse, by far the most talented, I don't know. And I would say it had the most drafts. And yeah, it was a pretty good event.
So during an event, I've been with you at one of these events. Man, you're going to this field and that field and this field and that field. How much of a game do you try to see, or do you leave that to your other people to do the scouting, and you're basically there on a type of CEO level where you're just making sure everybody's doing their job and everything's getting managed? How much do you do that, and how much do you actually get a chance to look at the players in an event like that?
It's obviously changed as time has gone on. The last one you and I were there, it was more of a concerted effort to see the players. I feel like as we have expanded and events have grown and things have gotten on top of each other, my time, and it's okay for people to hear this as a president of baseball operations and as a CEO, has been spent less at games unless I have to be at games. It's almost to the point where I have to kind of be in the office. I have to be able to make sure everybody else is doing what they can do and filtering out reports. At the national combine, the interclass combine, the regionals, I'll be focused on the field as we pick the other events. Because we do a lot of that stuff for also players that advance here, whether it's the nutrition side or the cognitive function side or the strength training side or whatever we could do to help these kids move along. I'm involved in that. But my role now, in all fairness, is to see the players that are at the very top in those events, because those are the ones who are going to move forward as we go on, to be able to provide a resource for the players that aren't quite as talented but still have something they can do. I coordinate our internship program, pass it off to the scouting director. I'm involved in making sure player development obviously is doing what they're doing. James Lofton is our field coordinator, running our pitching guys and our hitting guys and our infield outfield guys and the format of the flow of the on-field baseball and the execution, and the scouting department doing what they're doing. And the reality is I have Gordon Blakely with me. And Gordon,
he's pretty good.
Okay. And if Gordon decides, if Gordon tells me somebody can play, I don't question it. So it's more of a role of trusting the guys we have, putting people in a good position. It's not anywhere near seeing the players like I used to, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes, I have to go back, let's say University of blank will say, hey, Jeremy, what do you got on this guy? I'll have to pull up the report. I'll have to go back to the scout before I have an answer. That's okay, because we got the stuff in the system, right? But so that my role is really to do that and make sure the organization and the company keeps moving.
You also had a draft combine for high school and college players. My guess is these were guys that we will not see in the first or second rounds, because those guys, they've already done what they need to do. Am I right about that?
For the most part, yeah, I would say for the most part. But here, see, it's funny. Once again, we had this. I'm waiting to do this for months. Draft League, right? That came out, and then we had, we announced our pre-draft combine, and then, surprise, shocking, and lo and behold, MLB announced theirs, right behind that. MLB and USA. It's funny how much stuff they come out with. Right after it, just, I don't know, just maybe it's me. So, they announced theirs, and look, I'll be honest, if somebody's going to do one of those, as far as a pre-draft combine, it should be Major League Baseball. Like, that doesn't matter. It should be, doesn't matter where they got the idea from or the format or, whatever, but just, that's what they should be doing. But I don't believe in targeting guys in the first couple of rounds for the most part, because those guys have been seen. They don't need to do that type of stuff. The tough stuff I'm talking about should be for, and not even for college kids, really. We did one because we were asked, but same argument I made for the draft league and making right now. These kids have been seen forever. You don't need to have another college. It's not going to do anything, right? It's if anything, it's to check the box, meet people, and move on. And the high school side, I think you should have one. You got pre-draft workouts for that, because competition being what it is, but. Major League Baseball did theirs and we did ours right behind it. And we had a couple guys that go in the first round, certainly in the second round. After that, everybody was what I would call a depth draft, guys from the 5th, 6th, 7th, 12th, 15th type of round that had a tool, and we'll see what happens with it.
One thing I noticed from your event, you had KHOU. One of the kids was fishing.
That's That's Robby Snelling, and Robby Snelling is, a football recruit, highly sought after football recruit, left-hander up to 94. We've had him a couple of times now. He was just at MVP of the 2022 event. He's going on football visits right now and at summer football. And he's legitimately a kid that's two-sport athlete, which we encourage, like a real two-sport athlete. I don't know if he'll make the national combine, but if he doesn't, it's because he's, football visits and summer practice and things that he has to attend to play football in the fall. So, he's a guy that's on the Fenway list that we'll see. He's also a guy that shortly after he hit social media with us, was invited to the MLB All-American game in Denver, as were several guys that we may know. So it's one of those things where he's been in the right spots. He's probably a first round pick. He's a guy that when I was talking about before, I'll just tell you, Robby Snelling, Luke Jackson, Pierce George, and Cole Phillips all have a chance to be first rounders. Now, there's some other guys after that that'd be second rounders that were just in the team event. But Robby definitely is an impact player on both sides of the ball and actually in two different sports. He's also a heck of a kid.
And Robby was not necessarily fishing in a lake either, right? That was just outside the stadium. Was that
the natural disaster? That's what I was talking about. That's that line from Bull Durham. We need a rain out. I can get us a rain out, right? It was amazing. It was, the skies opened up one day at 3:00, Jason. They didn't quit for like a week. Felt like, So anyway.
I'm trying to find this tweet that you sent out. It was really cryptic about something, and I wanted to ask you about it. And it sounded like it had something to do with sponsorship or something like that. Do you feel like you're okay to mention something about this?
Jason, I'll talk about whatever. You know how it goes. I'm still looking for my filter in here. I don't see one. So I just go ahead and throw it out there. So there's another group that came out there and listed about their All-American game and said corporate sponsors. And they listed New Balance as a corporate sponsor. Now, I am privy in some ways to the way things break down. Let's say that. Let's get this clear. We are New Balance's global initiative. Okay. What that means is that the Major League Baseball marketing department has decided we are what they want to be involved in from a sponsorship standpoint. Okay. A real sponsorship standpoint. All of our events are branded that way. They are promoted that way. They are supported that way. We have events that are free because of that, right? We have some events that are free. New Balance Baseball is an exceptional, and really the head of New Balance Baseball, Neil Brooks, is an exceptional partner. Like the guy's family at this point. Like it really has become that type of a relationship where, he believed in me and believed in us and wanted to do something different. This is what we're doing. Now, since then, New Balance Sales has their own ability to get involved in things. And they do things like the Texas Premier, which is based in Franklin. I think it's Franklin. They have some teams, but there's a uniform component to that these teams all buy uniforms and people wear that. Maybe there's some discounts and, some rebates and, some little bit of sponsor. That's still a sponsorship, but it's different. Well, this group that put this stuff out there basically is buying footwear for this All-American game at full price. That's not a sponsorship. Okay. The group that I'm discussing doesn't have a apparel brand sponsorship like a Nike, who said, we're good. Under Armour, who's not doing anything with anybody. Adidas, who is East Coast Pro, right? And then you've got New Balance, which I'm going to check my notes just to make sure who they got. Just one sec. Yeah, they got us. So it's not them. So they got us. So, when people try to, in this youth space, man, it's amazing the competition stuff they got to throw out there. We got to have New Balance. You don't have New Balance. You're buying a pair of shoes. So when I went to Buc-ee's, right, and I got a bottle of water and some of that popcorn, I was like, man, Buc-ee's a corporate sponsor. We're good. I was like, hey, man, where's my discount? Oh, you don't get a discount. Okay, well, can you be a sponsor? Yes, you paid for something. You're a sponsor. So that was what I put out there because this stuff makes me laugh. It's absurd what we're looking at. And honestly, I got to tell you, that same organization is tough to, when I say tough to, they kind of make people feel like they have to do it. Do you know who cares when all this stuff is over about whether or not you play? Do you know? Nobody. Nobody cares. Okay. If I were to go back and look at these rankings and I'm like, yeah, that's first, second. No, I've been doing this 5 years. It's the 5th year. You know how many times I've proven them dudes wrong? Just in 5 years. I'll give you one. Grayson Rodriguez. Oops. Very first year out the chute. We're going to start off going hot. 11th pick in the draft. Okay. Over. Deshaun Brown. Did you know who he was? David Calabrese. Did you know? Well, I'm just saying. And this year, guess what? Okay. So it's funny to me that people do this. We're going to continue to tell the truth. We're going to continue to be who we are and let chips fall where it may.
How many first-round picks do you think you'll have this weekend?
So we'll have, I believe, 2 with an outside shot of 4.
Okay.
And I say that because it's going to be a weird draft. And when I say a weird draft, because
it already is a weird draft because it's happening on July 11th. But please go ahead.
Well, after people have seen the draft league, we have this draft. Okay. And so people are going to do what they're going to do. I was on the phone with some clubs today about a couple of guys and yesterday about a couple of guys. And I mean, look, you have some guys right at the top, people are trying to get right because it wasn't just a normal scouting year. It wasn't a normal playing year. Right. I do think Anthony Solometo comes off the board pretty quick, somewhere between 12 and 20. I feel like he was in Fenway, obviously, with us, and from Zoom Baseball Academy out in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, actually. And I think Ryan Spikes has a chance at the back end of the first round, probably the second round. Brady Montgomery is probably somewhere in that second round mix. Ricky Tiedemann, who's a guy we had in high school, who's came back to our stuff. By the way, great, phenomenal kid. Ricky, and so Ricky came. This is the kind of the deal. Ricky came with us out of pure loyalty to me. And I appreciate them doing that. They know we care. We build these relationships with these kids because we really want them to move forward. Ricky didn't have to do that. It was good for him because we got some good information. Some clubs got a chance to see it, but he did it because he knew we were doing something and wanted to be part of it. It's the same thing with Spikes and Kenya Huggins, who threw 96, and Tyler Kennedy and Arian Rodriguez and Chris Bernal and Eddie Saldivar, who flew across the country. I mean, these guys just made sure they were there, just to be there to make sure they were doing something. So all these guys can go somewhere between the middle of the first to the third round. It's really just going to depend on how these boards line up.
What I think is fascinating from the Houston area, Cypress, Texas, Cy Ranch High School will have 2 players drafted in the first round. Ty Madden, the pitcher from the University of Texas, Colton Cowser, the outfielder from Sam Houston. I've been talking to both of them probably over the last 6 months, and it's really interesting. These guys were not just high school teammates, but they're also like best friends since 8th grade. And here you've got 2 guys that, again, are going to be possibly picked within a couple of picks of each other. If you look at the mock drafts, Colton Cowser, when I saw him, I don't know, for some reason, Jeff Francoeur like flashed before my eyes. I don't know if that's a good comp. I don't know if it's a bad comp, but I don't know. When I saw him, I just saw Jeff Francoeur. Maybe not as athletic as Jeff Francoeur, but a Jeff Francoeur type.
There's been some good baseball, out of Cypress, Texas, in certain parts of Cypress, Texas. Cy Ranch has done a good job of turning out players since they started. It just has been. And those 2 kids are good people. Silas Ardoin is up at Texas, obviously, as their catcher, one of our guys, and says nothing but great things about Ty Madden, without even being prompted. I think that the kid's earned his way, and I'm happy for him and what that's going to be. Big arm, who knows where he's actually going to fall, right? But it's a big arm. Colton Cowser can fly, swings a bat, has had some pop this year, 15, 16 home runs. And I'm not a big stat guy, but he shows the ability for extra base strength, right? And those guys at Sam Houston, Shane Wegg loves the kid. I trust what Shane has to say. Both those guys should slot somewhere in the first 15 to 16 picks, somewhere in that range. So known commodities, interesting they're able to do that there. Like I said, good kids. Funny, I dealt with some people from Cypress today that, you can do without. These other guys over here were pretty good kids, and we're happy I'm happy for them because they deserve it. What a story they're able to play together and best friends all the way through. Be picked in a couple sections of each other.
One thing I also want to mention real quick before we go, Baseball America put out its list of tallest, shortest, lightest, heaviest. There's a kid in this draft who's 300 pounds, Jeremy. Kid is his name is EJ Pettit or Petit from Charleston Southern, and he's 6'8", 300 pounds, pitcher.
I got nothing. That's a big dude. That's just a large human being. Like, what do you say? And hi, my name is EJ. I don't know what else. What do you say? I don't know how you introduce yourself. You walk in the room, people are gonna be like, what? What are you doing? You know, that's a big cat. 6'8", 300, man. He's been playing line somewhere. You know, did he play football at all?
I don't know. I didn't get that far, but 6'8", 300. Another thing that I'm interested is some of these guys, this bottleneck in college baseball that we've seen, all these players and then funneling out in this like bottleneck because of COVID and red shirts and things like that. If you see some guys in this draft that are 24, 23, how will that affect them? I imagine that will negatively affect them, or will that help them? They'll go in the first 10 rounds and then get a smaller bonus, perhaps, is what we've seen in the past few years.
Well, it negatively affects them on their clock. You know, I mean, everybody got a year back, so it's, you know, these guys are going to be the seniors. But once they start, they're already 24. I mean, you have guys in the big leagues that are 20. You know, so it's you're 4 years behind, and you're going to rookie ball. I mean, if you don't go out the gate and get into AA within a year, it's like, what are we doing? You know, that's an unfair expectation for people who've come out of COVID, but that's the environment we're in. Some of these things Major League Baseball has done, and that obviously that's an NCAA thing, right? But some of these things Major League Baseball has done are just going to backfire. You know, we talked about this, you know, when the stuff came out, you know, I was still trying to figure out what planet we're on, and you told me we're on Earth. But I mean, it's just, we look back at this, and I look back at that podcast when I was sitting somewhere that's really frozen that I don't want to discuss. And we talked about that. And, you know, I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And here we are 7 months later. And I think about it, and you know what? What are we doing? Like, we're still here. Like, what are we doing? You know, we've got this draft league that has continued to be whatever it is. You've got this MLB combine, which probably stays and should stay. And you know why? You know why I say it should stay? Because, and it's a good idea, right? It's a good idea, so it should stay. So if they're going to do it, they should do it. But you have this draft where you got the draft at the same time as the futures game and the All-Star game, and the recruiting periods at the same time, and summer baseball is going at the same time. And these clubs got to go out. And I heard several guys say, man, how am I supposed to focus on 21s, which you have to do? You have to keep scouting those guys until they're off the board. How am I supposed to focus on the eligible guys and still see the guys for next year? Man, that's a great question, you know? And that's the stuff that MLB is trying to throw it into, because they're trying to make such an event to this thing. Baseball doesn't have to be like football. You know what else doesn't have to be like? A video game. You know what else doesn't have to be like? Doesn't have to be something where we got gobs of whatever. We're going to put the spider tack, gum tack, thumb tack, some kind of tack. And and you got to put it on, you got to throw a ball 100%, you know, because you want to pacify some fictional metric. Fictional metric. It's like the draft league. It doesn't exist properly. Okay. It's a fictional metric. And you've got, we're going to go ahead and throw, I'm going to be back and I'm going to rear back and I'm going to throw it 119 miles an hour. Well, I have no idea why. I'm just going to do it because if it spins faster, I'm going to get paid more. Yeah, I know it was off the backstop. I know it hit the guy in the third row. Sorry, my bad, man. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to go that way. It's stuck. It doesn't make any sense. And this is what Major League Baseball has done. So my hope is that we get past the summer, we clean this stuff off. We get back to allowing sunscreen and rosin, because no hitter wants, well, now it's more like 92. We're back to good fastballs again, right? Because we got to control the baseball. Oh, imagine that. No more. It's almost like you could drive a line directly to how this thing happened, right? You could just drive that line right there. And you have these guys that are using this stuff, and now they're not using it anymore. Oh, we got a little feel. Now we got to touch. Now we got to back off. And all of a sudden, these swings that are just, you know, I mean, does that stuff hurt? Like, think about this for a second. I popped my neck like 6 times over here, you know? That's how, let me just do that. It's not how you swing a bat. Like, I was trying to watch myself, and I hurt it pinching a nerve. Like, I'm going to go see a masseuse. So I'm saying this to say that all this stuff has come about, and we need to just kind of hit the pause button, hit a reset button. You take that draft league, you shine it up real nice, right? You turn it sideways and you put it aside. Okay, that's what you do. And when it takes the combine, you keep it and you put it at a better time, because good for you for doing a good idea, however you got it, and then go back to I don't even mind this Appalachian League stuff. Like, I think who cares? Like, that's whatever, that's fine. But when it comes to what some of these things are doing, put the draft back at least closer to where it needs to be. Right? Stop trying to wait for all this stuff to end so you can overdo it, so your clubs can get back to it. What's going to happen is, and I want this to be said very clearly for those who are listening and watching, Major League Baseball works for the owners. Commissioner works for the owners. It's not the other way around. So it's kind of like agents and players, right? I have employees, people that work for me. They don't tell me what to do. They have suggestions. They may have suggestions, but I'm paying their check. Guess who gets the final say? This dude, right? So when it comes to the owners and the GMs and the people that are nobody is showing up to watch the commissioner's office legislate. Like, people sit up there and they got an idea. Hey, it sounds good. Let's do this. I'm not sitting there with popcorn like, man, how much is that good? Can I watch that? Let me watch you think. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's all about the execution on the field, which means it's about the players and then about the teams. And so when the players and the teams get tired of this stuff, then we'll turn around and we'll go back to something that makes sense. So, look, I guess I've been holding that in for a while because we haven't seen each other. But I got to tell you, it's June or July. What is it? July what? I told you the days were off. It's July what? 8th, 7th? 12th?
It's July 8th.
July 8th. Man, we were in a worse spot than we were in December when this stuff came out. Let's get through it. Let's hope these guys develop some sense magically in Park Avenue. They're not even on Park Avenue anymore. Wherever the new offices are up there in New York, and these clubs turn around and say, "You guys are killing us. We can't do it this way." And also the guys who are so focused on spin rate, I cannot wait to see how they reinvent themselves now. It's going to be like some Aladdin stuff, like Merlin the Magician, like woof. Harry Potter and stuff. Harry Potter. Okay.
All right. Jeremy's saving the best for last. We've got to hit the stop button because you've got a place to be next week. Yes?
Yeah. Next week, Sunday, whatever. Yeah, both. Yep. Sunday might be,
okay.
Sunday might be from the airport. I'm just saying.
All right. So for Jeremy, this is Jason. Thanks everybody for listening to this abbreviated version of Extra Bases.